Good afternoon. Today we'll be discussing about the purchasing and vendor management. What we are covering in this or what our session is what is purchasing, centralized purchasing, and what are the functions of a purchase department. Then policies, how do we select the vendors, how do we evaluate vendors, and how do we make accounts of material, just-in-times, Kanban system, and the inventory management concept related to the Kanban system. Let us take the first one. What is the purchasing all about? What do you mean by purchasing? Purchasing is a part of an integrated supply chain. The key task of the purchasing is to procure the material. There are many things that come into the picture and people had a confusion. What is sourcing, what is procuring, and what is purchasing? Sourcing is more of a strategic in nature. Say, General Electric, a well-known company in the United States, want to reduce their cost of raw material. If they decide to move out of their home country and source the product anywhere in the world, if the decision is taken at a strategic level to reduce the cost by sourcing from alternative destinations, we call it as a sourcing. The purchasing is more about at a business level. So Tata Chemicals decides to purchase soda ash for their plant. So it's more about working on the sourcing decisions by the Tata sir and purchasing the product within those controlling criteria. And we are procuring on a tactical basis, looking at the demand, forecasting, on a guidelines at the sourcing and decision on the purchasing. We procure the product for the business at operation level. Therefore, sourcing comes at a strategic level, purchasing comes at the business level, and procurement comes at an operational level strategies. So here in this chapter, we discuss about what we need to purchase products for manufacturing the product. It is not just purchasing, we need to purchase it very effectively. What is effectively? Look at a certain crisis that has arisen after the coronavirus. The countries or the companies which are totally dependent on the China sourcing were not getting the shipment or had the fear of shipment containing the virus, therefore abandoned the purchasing from China. It has led to the risk of manufacturing in many countries because of single destination purchasing strategy. The companies which have outsourced the product or imported the raw material from multiple destinations, multiple countries, are in a better position today. They have de-risked their business. Now, what is the lesson that we are learning from this lockdown? The business need not to source from a single destination because there is a risk associated with that. Though the price at which the Chinese country may not pandemic not just one China is facing in the SARS regime or in the swine flu, bird flu, H1N1. Now we have the issue of corona. Tomorrow there may be Hanta. So the business now has to rethink about sourcing only from China. Therefore, we need to take a effective and efficient decisions in procuring the material. Second one is at what time I am purchasing and what product we are purchasing. Many people in a panic situation for their personal protective equipment for the doctors and other health workers have procured the material from China. But many countries have rejected the product sent by the Chinese companies due to inferior quality. This has put the burden on the exchequer of those countries. Wrong purchasing lead to the difficult situations in the organization. Therefore, one has to purchase product with a careful assessment of the quality. Second one is purchasing time is also important. If you are into the fruit beverages market like a paper food, it is always better to have a tie-up with the farmers early in the mango season and procure the mango as early as possible so that you can prepare essence and a pulp out of it. This will give strategic advantage to company in the long run. If we think about the price will fall and will procure, if the price doesn't fall, we will be at the risk because competitor will not wait for market to fall. Thus, we have to purchase the product on a right time. It is also important for purchasing a right quantity of the product. If I procure extra, like many people did before the lockdown, procure pig iron for their foundry, but the next 2 months there was not even a single day manufacturing. The company were locked their working capital. They were struggling. But a company which procured the material optimally for a weekly basis and the lockdown has happened, they were in a better position because they did not have a much inventory. So therefore working capital was not a problem to them when the lockdown closed and the factory started manufacturing. But the third instance is the people who were thinking about procuring on a daily basis. When the lockdown got over, they did not have any raw material to start the manufacturing also. So they have to wait till the material comes from the supplier. So they lost a few days to reopen their businesses. So looking at the three situations I have narrated now. Situation 1, excess procurement blocking the working capital. Situation 2, optimal procurement and keeping some working capital for the business. Third one, just in time but no raw material for the necessary time. These situations will teach us why the optimal solutions of procurement are crucial for business success. Apart from this, modern day people are talking about supplier relations. There are scarce suppliers for some. Say in India, the sodium chemical suppliers are very less in number. One has to maintain a good relationship with those companies so that there will not be any difficulty in the business. Another advantage of having a good relationship with a supplier is we can vary the demand and procure the material as and when necessary. Right. Therefore, company will give the competitive advantage. Will have a competitive advantage because they were procuring the material on a right time, a right quality, a right quantity. Right. So this is what is a definition of a purchasing. Let me recall the definition of purchasing. The process undertaken by the organizational unit that either as a function or as a part of integrated supply chain is responsible for procuring or assisting users to procure in the most efficient manner required supplies at the right time, quality, quantity, and price, and management of suppliers, thereby contributing to the competitive advantage of the enterprise and the achievement of its corporate strategy. Let us go ahead and discuss objectives of purchasing. 1. To acquire the goods and services at a minimum cost. Say we are procuring a solar panels for a solar energy plant. How do we procure the solar panels? There are many different aspects. 1. Can we procure from Indian companies, and what is the cost of the solar panel? We can procure the solar panels from global players. We can also procure the solar panels from the Chinese companies in particular. And look at the taxation, foreign exchanges, others. These panels are cheaper to the company. Company will purchase the solar panels from the China. Another objective of the purchasing is we need to have a continuous flow of production. Assume that you are having a steel plant. A ore is required to manufacture steel, hematite. If the ore supply do not happen even for a single day and a company do not have any stock, the entire plant will be closed. Even the supply is there, but if it is half of the capacity, then I am underutilizing the capacity. Therefore, there has to be a clear agreement between the supplier and the manufacturer to have a continuous supply of products. To develop and maintain and attenuate sources of supply. We need to make ad hoc decisions while sourcing the product. One has to take a clear policy in purchasing the product. Now look at the textile companies in India. They are procuring most of their textile needs nowadays from the Bangladesh. But when the tension that increases between India and Bangladesh, say because of the NRC or NPR, companies will be in dilemma whether to go ahead and source the product from Bangladesh or not. Therefore, we need to have a clarity on what are the sources of the supply we are having. Today we talk about the success story of Anand Milk Union Limited, Amul. Why? They have made the sourcing at village level. Farmers come and pour the milk in the milk center. The Amul vehicle will take them to the chilling center. The milk is heated, pasteurized, and packed and sold to the market. What they are ensuring is the milk production and supply are nearby and there is no time difficulty for villagers to supply the milk. The next point is purchasing is whether the client or a supplier who has agreed to supply the goods can he able to deliver the product on timely basis? Today we see after in the lockdown period, when the grocery shops were allowed for few hours, customers started panic buying and hoarding some of the products. If you're working for the ITC's Ashirwad Atta, people are buying even a 5 kg, 10 kg packet you are answered earlier. And now we need to see that ITC supplies these atta to the particular retailer. And retailers should not face the problem of back ordering, stock out situations. Therefore, a store manager in a retail outlet should talk continuously with ITC to supply the atta required for his store. When the product is available at the retail outlet, customer will be more satisfied and will tell other customers to go and purchase the product from the retail outlet. This is how we increase the footfalls and gross margin return on inventory, gross margin return on feed, gross margin return on the labor. The objective of the purchasing is how optimally I will utilize the capital. Many retailers will ask the retailer to give the credit so that they will have a time to rotate the working capital, which cannot be idle. So some of the fast-moving consumer goods companies give credit of 21 days to the retailer so that the retailer can sell those products and pay the amount to the company. The companies which are reducing this working capital cycle, on a difficult time, retailer is not going to sell those products because he wants the working capital to be there in his business. Therefore, optimum maintenance of the capital is one of the characteristics of the purchasing. The objective of the purchasing is one has to procure a quality products. If I procure an inferior quality products, one, customer complaints will increase. Second, if the product damages, it blocks the working capital of the company. Third one, it gives a bad name or bad repute to the company's image, which will hurt them in the long run. Therefore, the objective of the packaging is reduce the cost, have a continuous production, and good source of supply on time, and have a less use of capital, and also quality procurement. The next question is, what are the types of the purchasing that we're having? One, in this situation, there was no advance purchasing is made. Say for example, an institution is looking for 30 computers. They have not made any advance purchasing, but they find out the requirement this year. We require 30 computers. They source for the supplier, ask them for the request for the quotation or request for the proposal. Then execute that quotation and complete the order. Here, purchase is made as per the requirement. This is not done for general goods, but it is done for the products which are not purchased regularly by the organization. Computers are not regular purchases to the institution. It may be one or they would like to take decisions, and it is purchased as per the requirement of the company. Second one is contract purchasing. Here, an agency or a supplier is identified, or a contract is made between the agency, and material is given to the agency. The one advantage is the low price of this material. The cost of the material may increase or decrease, but the companies have agreed on a particular price. Say a real estate contractor agreed with a hardware shop that I'll be purchasing a steel 20 quintal every month at 2,800 rupees per quintal, irrespective whether it is a 2,700, whether it is a 2,600. Advantage is when the cost fluctuates, it does not affect the real estate company. Hardware shop also, if the cost goes down, price goes down, he will get a benefit, but he will also get a regular customer. So the first one is purchase is made on the requirement. Second one is there is a contract in the purchasing. The third one is it is based on the market. Particularly in India, vegetables. Let me take an example to narrate complete purchasing of the vegetables here. A farmer in the evening picks up the vegetables near to the Ghattaprabha, come to the Ghattaprabha market area, sells his vegetables on an auction basis. There are vendors who take these auctions, send it to Belgaum market. Early morning in Belgaum, the auctioning starts. The vegetables retailers will take the vegetables and they will go to their places and sell the products. What is the importance of the purchasing here? Today onion rate may be 20 rupees, it may go to 60 rupees, tomorrow it may become 5 rupees per kg also. The purchasing based on the price fluctuation that has happened. Last one that I would like to discuss in the type of purchasing is, it is about schedule purchasing. These products do not have a fluctuation in the prices. Say we require potato for the chips. Not much fluctuation. So in this situation, when the price does not fluctuate, company can go for schedule purchasing. Monthly, January I'll purchase so much, February I'll purchase so much, April I'll purchase so much, November I'll purchase. Therefore, a schedule is prepared. And these commodities, no matter how much fluctuate, we can purchase. In a nutshell, type of purchasing, we have made on the requirement, first one. Second one, it is a contract between the supplier and the company. Third one, purchasing made on the basis of the market. The last one, it is on the schedule that seller and buyer has agreed. What is the purchasing procedure? Let us take a government purchasing. Assume that a Bharat Heavy Electricals Limited, BHEL, is looking for an UPS for power supply. So how the purchasing starts here? There are restrictions for the public sector undertakings in India. 40% of the material they are procuring should be from small and medium enterprises. That means one criteria for a BHEL is UPS need to be purchased from SMEs, need not to be purchased from American Power Corporation, APC and other companies. Second now, once we know that, we will prepare with a document. So what is the condition? Conditions we can say, prepare guidelines. One, you should be having a manufacturing facility in India, should have at least 5 years experience in giving UPS to the public sector undertaking. You should have a valid GST number, tax index numbers. Then you should be, earlier projects have a completion certificates. So one can prepare guidelines for purchasing. Then once the guideline is prepared, a buying committee in the BHEL will decide which comprises from various departments of the BHEL. Agreed on the terms, they will float for a global tender, if at all required, otherwise a local tender. A tender is a notification regarding the purchasing of the material to the government organization. Once the tender is floated, in this it is clearly mentioned that what is the product all about, what is the quantity they are looking at, what is the estimated price they are having, and what is the earnest money deposit one has to pay, whether it is an open bidding or sealed bidding, when the bid will be opened. As I told, open bidding versus the sealed bidding, let me come back to the BHEL example. Say now, Luminous is also working on that, and Everyday is also working on the UPS tender. Assume that BHEL is asking for an open bidding. In this, both the Luminous and Everyday will quote their price for this range of UPS. These numbers, this is my the price. So, and also the quantity, price per quantity also mentioned. And both people will come on a particular day of bid open, and there is always an option for both Everyday and a Luminous to modify their bid looking at the trend in the open bidding system. But a closed bidding, both the parties were asked to fill all the quotation requirement and seal the cover and send it to the organization, or fill it online, close it. On a particular day, it will be opened. On a guidelines given by the buying committee, a particular vendor will be selected. Either it may be cost based, or it may be supply based, it may be experience based, or it may be national basis. The decision is taken by the buying committee to purchase the product based on the sealed bidding. The difference here, in open bidding, there is an option for both Everyday and Luminous to bargain for the price or services or reduce the cost. But in a sealed bidding, those options were not given at all. Once this bid is open, then the order will be given to the particular person, and they'll specify the time within which he has to complete the order. It may be 15 days or 30 days, so that is given. So first one is, we need to have a purchase requisition. In case of, if I come to the private organization, assume that Infosys is purchasing the UPS now. If the departments are going to ask to make the requisition, what type of UPS is required for the organization, what is the capacity, and how many numbers required, that purchase requisition is raised. Once the purchase requisition is raised, it has to be collected from the various departments, and procurement head should get all these purchase requisitions. Then the purchase head, they will decide what to purchase and what quantity to be purchased. Next one is, one has to study the market effectively, because market characteristics are changing dynamically now. We need to generate idea for the price and availability of the product. If the product is available, looking at the local legislations, and we need to think about procuring the large number of products. Why I was talking about local legislation? Say, a company is into medicines business with Ayurvedic products and are using onion in their Ayurvedic medicine. The Indian government says that you cannot hold onion more than 20 tons. That becomes illegal. Second one is the companies cannot also purchase directly from the farmer, which is not allowed in the APMC Act of Karnataka. You have to purchase it directly from the APMCs, agriculture, produce marketing cooperatives. These are the government marketplaces from where a supply company has to go and procure the material. So one has to have a clarity on the restrictions or the legislations of those places. After that, we need to make a decisions about how do I select vendor, how do I make a POs, purchase orders, how do I receive the orders. Now, what are the functions of purchase department? Obviously, one of the decision of the purchasing department is to get the price. What price the product is now traded in the market, and who are the best vendors. We have to select them. Preparing the purchase order and placing to the vendors. If at all there are any disputes with the vendors, conflict in the channel, conflict in procurement, we need to settlement of the complaints. And the last and not the least is we need to develop a good supplier relationship management. Therefore, purchasing management is having three processes. One is purchase planning, purchase tracking, and purchase reporting. Now let us go to the purchase planning. Now a company is decided to purchase some material. Say an IT company is thinking about procuring air conditioners for their offices. Now we need to create a purchasing process at that time. We also need to make files, links, and assigning the purchasing task to the employees and setting the task priorities. Here we come across the assigning the supervisors for purchasing the product, and if at all required, we need to send the reminders. We need to send the reminders for the purchasing, and we need to have a better control on the evaluations. In a tracking is what is the status of the other purchase order released, whether it is coming on time or not, then receiving the status notifications and putting them in the current status, so what is happening, and if at all there are any overdues, we need to highlight it. Once the purchasing is done, we need to make out actual estimation, actual values versus the estimated value. If there are any significant difference between actual versus estimated value, we need to write the reasons for difference in the estimation and the actuals. And also one has to write about the project statistics. Here they have to write sorting, grouping, and filtering the task of the attributes. All these need to be done on the key performance indicators agreed by the company. I'll be going to the next important question, the centralized purchasing versus the decentralized purchasing. Many of the modern retailers are going for the centralized purchasing. They purchase directly from ITC or Dabur. One is it will help them of good quality assurance, standardization. They can also reduce the price, ask for the extra margins. Then inventory control, warehouse management will be easier when purchases the product from the central warehouses. So therefore, advantages of the central purchasing is bulk buying, proper warehousing, time saving at the different stores for taking decisions for purchasing the product, and disadvantage of centralized purchasing is local products will not be appearing on those retail outlets because decisions are taken at the central level. So local market taste or habits are not highlighted in the retail outlets. And if the goods have some shortcomings, then central department will take a responsibility, will take time, customer will not be happy with the delay in the settlement of the claims. Decentralized purchasing it will give the advantage to the store manager to procure the product locally according to the local habits or the local tastes of the people. But disadvantage of the decentralized purchasing is you cannot buy a bulk and therefore your cost will increase, profit margin will be less. Let us look at the functions of the purchasing. One, procuring the material for the organization, evaluating the price and any paperwork and accounting to be done, compiling with the policies of the organization. These are the important tasks has to take. Now obviously the question is, how do we rate the vendors? In a business marketing, we have three important tasks. One is new task, modified rebuy, and the straight rebuy. If the company is procuring the material for the first time with a supplier, we need to look at his credentials on a checklist prepared by the organization. According to the weightage of that, we need to assess whether the vendor is eligible to sell the product to us or not. In a straight rebuy, the supplier already exists with us. Only thing is we need to raise a purchase order and get the products to the organization. In a modified rebuy, there may be changes in the price, there may be changes in the volume, there may be changes in the facility decisions, inventory levels. Therefore, as buyer and supplier sit together, modify their checklist, modify their agreements and purchase the product. So this situation is called as modified rebuy. If I put an organizational buying process for these new product tasks, modified rebuy and straight rebuy, this we popularly known as buy grid framework. Prepare the buy grid framework and identify the vendor. Okay. Now, what are the pricing factors that we need to include? Okay, one is competitive pricing. Vendors can provide a similar products that the company is asking. Is the price stable with this vendor? Whether the prices were accurately told and this notice or notification on the price changes given by the vendor. And if there are any changes in the costing of the company, whether the vendor is able to sensitively understand that and flexible enough to modify the price, and how the billing has to be done. Quality factors, one has to see that whether the purchase order release and the quantity supplied by the supplier of a similar quality, and whether the vendor has conformed to the specification of the company, and whether vendor has built the reliability with the organizations, and what is the durability of those products procured from the vendor, and how the customer support is given for those products. Is it having any warranty or state-of-the-art product or the services? In case of the delivery factors, we have to look at time taken by the supplier to deliver the product, quantity supplied. If that all there is exist a lead time, what is the lead time, and how the packaging is done by these vendors, and whether the documentations were clear, whether any contingency occurred to the organization, these vendors could meet those contingencies. And the services provided inside the organization, outside the organization if at all necessary, these factors need to be checked. Okay, then these are measured on the 7 C's of the supply chain. procurement. One is competency, capacity, commitment, control, cash, cost, and the consistency. This has to be measured, and let me show one vendor rating example here. Now look at this weighted point method I am showing here. Attributes were given for the quality, price, delivery. They are separately identified. Relative weightages of attributes are assigned to the process of grading here. If the points were given Q1 is accepted without remarks 100. If accepted with some rejection 60. Accepted due to acute shortage 40. Totally rejected 0. And accepted rate is calculated, that is accepted lots divided by the total lots into 100. And it will be multiplied by the weighted point of the quality factors. So now price fee factor comparison is done here. Look at the PA, that is accepted price. Now the PO is, that is we agreed here. If the P1 is 20% of the 60, P2 is 60% of the 40, P3 is 75% of the 30. Net price is given by lowest net price by respective net price into 100. This percentage will be multiplied by the weighted point of the price. Now delivery factors are taken here once again. Number of scheduled delivery divided by number of actual delivery into 100. Once again D1, D2, D3 are calculated. If the deliveries are into 90 to 100 percentage, then 100 points. 60 to 75 percentage, 60 points. 40 to 50 percentage, then 50 percentage. This will be calculated and a vendor will be selected. Thank you.